All right, folks. So we just finished watching Donadon, episode one. We didn't do a reaction for it, mainly also because stemming from season one, I think we were kind of like middle of the road for how we were feeling
Mhm.
about the season as a whole. While it did have like standout episodes, like I stand by episode seven of Donadon being like one of the best things that happened in last year, like writing wise.
Mhm.
There's just other issues that with the series itself, more so on the romance side, which a lot of people I guess love. But the relationship between Okarun and our main girl
Momo.
Momo. I don't know why her name. I was about to call her Mommy
Mhm.
Rent a Girlfriend for some reason. But Momo and Okarun, our main two characters, essentially, their relationship was always fuzzy looking, for how they've come about. But season two pretty much picks up right off at the end of season one, which did ended abrupt to begin with, right?
Mhm.
Because I know at the end of season one, we were trying to figure out, wait, well, how could they just end like that? It just feels like it's in the
Mhm.
middle of like an arc, and this exactly is in the middle of. Um, the episode, of course, starts off with Momo being assaulted again, which
Mhm.
is a regular occurrence in Donadon. And that is a thing, and these ghost-like characters essentially is all part of the Keto family. And as the Keto family, we do learn, spoilers, of course, at this point in time, that they have been sacrificing the people who have been living in this house to what they thought was a god, but it's actually like a earthworm or something like that. I forgot what type of worm it is.
Earthworm.
Earthworm, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just a massive, like, alien-looking earthworm. I don't know what it is about Dandadan with these alien stories, or more so, right? Because I guess it's like the first ghost story that,
Can I say
yes,
I honestly get confused which
yeah,
is supposed to be a ghost and which is supposed to be an alien?
yeah,
I
yes,
I truly do. I even season 1 as we were watching it,
mm,
I was like I could kind of tell when something is an alien like the
mm.
the
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 sapien dudes.
shrimp.
Oh, the shrimp, yeah,
The shrimp, but only because, but then I'm also like the shrimp is also a earth creature, and I
yes,
only figured out it was an alien once they were like, I'm from this planet. But even this earthworm, I'm like, but if it's an earthworm of Earth, how is it an alien? So does like is what maybe it is I get
yeah.
confused. But go ahead, go ahead.
Nah, because I was like, I'm just like pulling up real quick Donadon Keto family, right? Because like for a minute I'm just like, are they ghosts or are they actual families and whatnot?
Yeah.
And they are it says while disguised as a human, Naki appears to be a short elderly woman. Yeah, because I was getting confused too. I'm like, yo, bro, like what are they? And like apparently they are a yeah, I guess they're the ghosts. Yeah. Subterranean? Yeah. Yeah. I guess they're falling under the ghosts, right? Because they said they've been around for 200 years. So you might as well be a ghost at this point,
Right.
right? And that was like, between the yokai and the alien stories, I was like, all right, I prefer the yokai stories, because they at least have a bit more storytelling behind them. They look a bit more serious. So for us to actually get our unserious, I guess you could say, yokai story, I said, you know what, it makes sense. Maybe we're gonna get a serious alien story in the future. Don and Don, I will say, episode one, it's always going to be shot beautifully. It's always, the animation is always going to be crisp and clean. I even really enjoyed the opening theme as well. Like especially for the opening animation. But I don't know, not this big connection with the series as a lot of other people are. Throughout the community, especially people who are just made this Don their entire personality and are
Mhm.
shilling for it and whatnot. I do think that, overall the series is like something I can watch on like in the background, and as things pass, nothing right now is like building like the great attachment, or should I say, like as much as I was attached to episode 7 of season 1, I'm not sure if there's going to be anything coming up right now that can build that same attachment, but I hope, right? That's just my general hope. But if that's not the case, I have no problem being like, all right, well, that's season 2. After season 2, just jump off of Don, and then wait for other seasons to come out to see how people are responding to it. But other than that, I thought that episode 1 was decent, you know, for in its totality. Like the Earthworm thing, that was a surprise. Learning that the Quito family's been sacrificing people, and they just got yeeted apparently by this earthworm. Maybe they're dead, maybe they're not dead. We'll find out in the next few episodes. But I do know in all the trailers that were talking about Don, Evil Eye is like the big bad of this season. So that's where I'm waiting to see, especially because I like knowing beforehand that this character is going to have multiple arcs. So now that we're going to get multiple arcs for a specific character, I want to see what Don does with, you know, a more longer storytelling for this character and make other like conclusions and decisions based off what happens with season 2 from there. But as the first episode to a new season, I think it was decent. You know, it's not something that's gonna like blow your mind or anything, at least for me. But yeah, I say middle of the road at the moment, decent. How about you?
I kind of hate the series. No,
Mm-hmm.
no, just a little bit. On a serious note, yeah, and it's really just stemming off my same critique and concerns from season 1.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of ways that it is depicted that Momo's getting assaulted, sexually assaulted, um, verbally sexually assaulted
Mm-hmm.
throughout this episode is just a continuation from the first season. I will say again, it's all about how things are depicted between the boys and the girls in this show. And like why? What is the decision making process behind this? Are we really trying again? It's just like, okay. So watching this episode, and the episode starts with a bunch of men uh alluding to raping her. And she only gets out by the grace of Turbo Granny sneaking along with her, right? So not even
Mm-hmm.
by her own, a little bit, yeah, not even by her own powers for the most of it, because they just kept coming after her. So again, a young girl who is naked because she's only in a towel, surrounded by men, a group of men who were going to rape her. And she only got out by the skin of her teeth because of someone else, right? Fine. She gets saved by, I guess you could be like another woman. Sure. Um, and that's kind of, I think, Turbo Granny's whole thing, right? Why she became the malevolent spirit that she was because of all the murders and rapes of the young girls at the tunnel. And how all those spirits and stuff culminated into her becoming the big threat that she was in the first season, the first half of the first season. So then it kind of just Momo just it is what it is, right? Momo goes about her day only to come back to the apartment to find that the ghost family has, I'm assuming, has stripped and beaten the boys.
Yeah.
So again, we don't see that happen. We just have to infer that abuse has happened, because they're on the floor clutching their sides and are naked. That's it. And then again, once these ghost men see Momo, we're right back into sexual assault territory. How they're grabbing her, how they're touching her, lifting up her legs, the things that they're saying to her, be a good girl. It's fucking disgusting and it makes my skin crawl, right? And maybe that's the point, right? To show
Mm-hmm.
you how disgusting this all is. Because it truly is. But to have it happen twice in one episode is fucking ridiculous. It was literally, I couldn't stop rolling my eyes,
Mm-hmm.
and like I checked out, and by the time the episode was over, I was like, "Oh, it's done. Thank fucking God." Like, look, again, I don't want to see Okaroon or Gigi get assaulted. I don't want to see anyone get assaulted. But I'm talking about how things are depicted in this show. And as we've seen, it is very Everything that happens to Momo, we have to see. Everything that happens to Momo, we have to experience with Momo. Anything that happens to the boys, we're just left to infer that something crazy and wild happened. We don't get to see it. If you're going to do that, then don't show any of it. Please, I'm not saying that if you're going to show Momo, show the boys, but if we're going to talk about sexual assault and how it affects boys and girls, then you need to start making the story even. You really do. Instead of gratuitously depicting it just constantly happening to Momo and her just having to fucking truck along. And we never get back to these conversations of her constantly getting sexually assaulted. Always. It's like, is this really just what's gonna go forward in the next season? Is this what I have to look forward to for this show? That you have a main character, female main character, who has a certain amount of strength, who is very certain about herself to a point, is just depicted as the object of, like, for gooners to get their yayas off watching this 16-year-old girl be depicted in this way. Like, twice. It happened twice. We spent maybe a total of 4 minutes of this 20-minute episode watching her get assaulted, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less, in the first episode of your next season. I don't
I'm pretty
understand.
sure this is like, for especially from other. I mean, we already know from season 1 that this is part of the course. Yeah, we already know from
It
season
feels
1
like
this is
it's
part of
meant,
the course.
yeah, it's like it's meant to be a gag. We're not taking it seriously, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna center around how Okarun and he feels, and then we have to propel the romance, but still have this girl continue to get sexually assaulted and just go about her day.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. We talked about this a lot during season 1, especially dealing with how they're gonna go about this, with the stories that they're trying to tell, or what the creator is trying to tell through their stories and stuff like that. Especially between Okarum being, stripped butt naked, and both of them being in the hallway, and then the positions that they're being put into and stuff like that, and part of the chorus, part of the gag. But then it's like you get the storytelling of what we get in episode 7, and it puts everything in juxtaposition. Like, you can have this great storytelling for these specific episodes, but then you got a lot of this other stuff that's not, like, because people are gonna be like, all right, well, there's fan service, then there's this random weird shit that goes on and whatnot, and then like, it's like you have to, in order to get to the good parts, right? You gotta sift through a lot of, like, subpar, in our opinion, parts that are just, is it worth watching those parts, or would I just rather just wait around for when we actually start doing some actual storytelling type of deal? Because when we're doing storytelling and it makes sense and we can vibe with it, we're just like, all right, this series has so much potential and so much good stuff behind it. But then you got to sit through a lot of the stuff that can be wacky, and this is why a lot of people say, well, yeah, Danada's not for everybody, Danada is weird, or this is just what's intended and whatnot. And guess what, guys, I don't give a fuck. Right? Like, and not as Kayla, like, no, we don't really
Yeah,
care,
it
right?
it really is it's downplaying. To me, it's downplaying and deflecting, so that you're not confronted with just how inappropriate this style of storytelling is.
Yeah,
You want to say people are tourists, or that it's not for you, instead of actually looking at the piece of work and critiquing it with valuable critiques, right? I'm not saying I'm right about everything, but the subject matter that's happening here, for the way y'all are hyping it up, you guys are really turning off your brains and just don't want to confront the abuse female characters face in media, because at least she gets to kiss the nerdy boy, and at least there's cool art.
Yeah, on further on this point itself, it's not like I don't like ecchi, like, anime, right? That's, I just don't, like, I need to, like, just say that, like, obviously, like, there's ecchi anime and I will still watch it, right? Obviously, I've covered other ecchi anime, so that's never been the issue. The issue more so, and I've always been consistent with this, right? Which why people be like, hey man, people recommend romance animes that are in high school and whatnot. I'm like, I'd rather not watch high school romance. Like, and I've been 1,000% consistent in like, yeah, there's very very few. Like, there's probably on one hand I can count, how many ones I've actually been invested in and finished from like beginning to end. And like Kaguya is probably the most recent example of a high school romance series, right? But obviously there's other ecchi series out there. Dandadan isn't even in the verge of being ecchi, like some of these other series that have like uncensored versions and whatnot, right? So, and where the purpose of them is for sexualization, right? That's very different from an anime like this one that seems to have a message about, all right, well, these are women who are being abused. Like, that's literally Turbo Granny's whole purpose, right? And then you have Momo who's going through this, and now if you make it your purpose that Momo wants to talk about these things, you're just not illustrating that. If you're gonna tell stories of especially with these type of Turbo Granny, and then what happened with the other yokai and from episode 7 with Ira, right, where even she is a sex worker and has to put up, and she's trying to take care of her daughter, and then she gets beat up and everything, right? Is this just going to be part of the course for all these other like tragic stories for, say, your female characters or even your men characters? Like, if assault and all this stuff is going to be a part of your tragic story, then you're going to have, like, say, assault being one of the forefronts for your main characters and whatnot. Then is Donadan truly just supposed to be a dark comedy, right? Because there's different ways that dark comedy can be done, especially if you're going to be making light of assault. We've seen, but then
Which
that's
you shouldn't be making light of
yeah,
such a topic, but
but
yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, that's very, and I'm gonna say on that part that's subjective, because if it's a dark comedy, there's black comedy and then there's blue comedy. Blue comedy is the one where they make fun of sexual assault. Black comedy is usually where we make fun of like other tragic things with like organ transplant and all these other darker topics and whatnot. But Donadan, to my knowledge, is not a blue comedy, within that fits in the dark comedy sphere. It's just a romance comedy, right? And that's where I'm just like, with the context of things going, like, where does Donovan go with the scripts and whatnot, right? Now, I'm not gonna sit here and lie that I have the, like when it comes to like with Momo and the situations she gets herself into and stuff like that. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I haven't seen so many other animes that do the same exact thing. And it's not always a talking point for me, but it's also one of those things where I'm like, all right, is this serving a purpose in the actual overall anime? Is this advancing the plot in any way? Because that's what I'm looking at it, right? And I'm like, is it? No, it's not. It's not advancing the plot in any shape or form. Like, it doesn't become a talking point for Momo, and that's where I'm just like, okay, then is it needed, right? And of course, because on your side you'd be like, it's not needed at all. But I'm like, if it's going to be in here as a writer, is it propelling anything, or is there propelling any conversations or any hero's journey for Momo? And we have yet to see any of that. But we've touched upon it with Turbo Granny. We've seen what's happened in Ira's story. So when is it Momo's turn to talk about these things? And how long do we have to wait for that to happen? Or is that not going to happen at all? And that's where I'm taking it up more so with. Because it's like this: when there's sexual assault and there's torture or anything else that's done in any of these types of stories, I'm like, all right, well, if you have it in there, what is going to be the payoff? Because
I mean,
yeah,
look,
yeah,
I also want to get at a point too. I'm not saying that this
yeah,
type of subject matter should not ever be touched upon.
yeah,
It should. We should make stories about
like
this stuff, and we
yeah,
talk about it.
yeah, like Taco
Uh,
P's original sin,
Right.
yeah, bullying, yeah,
But when it's used as a gag, it truly is contributing to sexual assault and rape culture in the real world, because it desensitizes and normalizes this kind of behavior, and people absorb that, take that in, and expel it out into the real world. It happens. We're seeing it happen right now with a bunch of trials that are happening with a bunch of men who did really bad stuff, and people reacting positively to these uh victims of sexual assault, men and women not getting the justice that they deserve. Um, so I gotta make it clear. These stories need to be told. But if there is no, like you said, if there is no conversation around it, what is the point of it? The point of it is because you think it's funny and not to be and not a thing to be taken seriously, at least from the perspective of Momo's character thus far.
Mhm.
Again, haven't read the manga. I don't know if you've read very far in the manga.
It's anime only for this one.
Right.
Yeah.
So as of right now, where we're at, season 2, episode 1, it's meant to be taken as a joke and not so serious, with Momo at least, because it doesn't get brought up, it doesn't get talked about, it just happens to her and she keeps going forward, right?
Mhm.
And I could say as a as an individual that I completely understand the idea of these things happen in the real world. A lot of us are forced to just keep trucking, right? But for a lot of us, it's a situation that happens and we go through it. It's not a situation that happens and then we keep running into several other individuals through our lives that do it. One person one day, 2 days later someone else is doing it to us, 3 days
Mhm.
like we're traveling, and then it just
A constant
constantly
cycle.
happens.
Yeah.
A constant cycle of just random people assaulting you over and over and over again, right? It's a rarity that happens. Usually it's an insular thing that these situations happen with multiple people, right? Unless you're getting sex trafficked and so on and so forth. But for Momo, it's just happening everywhere she goes. And every depiction of it is like, well, that was that. And again, it's about the difference in what's being shown for the guys versus the girls and how it's being shown, how it's being animated, and how it's being shot, right? That's really where a lot of the crux of my disdain for this is. If you're going to have this subject matter, it needs to be that subject matter needs to be a blanket for everyone involved, right? You can't just push it as, well, yeah, it just looks like this girl's family beat on Okarun and Gigi, obviously stripped them, but we don't get to see that. We're just gonna infer. But then Momo fully dressed is still getting sexually assaulted and harassed. You want to show this continuous thing to keep happening to Momo and not have her address it, but have her continue to address her feelings of, I think I really like Okarun. Like, just don't do it. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. If you can't take this subject matter seriously, and if you want to continue to contribute to rape and sexual assault culture, I'm gonna call you out on it, because that's so far up to season 2, episode 1 is what we have going on here. Especially for the way people hype it up. And I'm not saying it's a blanket thing. I'm not saying it's all everyone is only just hyping it up for how pretty it looks or whatever fucking story, other A plot story is getting told. I know when we were watching season 1, some people were discussing the show the same way we were, right? It's just not a wider opinion and not a
Mhm.
wider conversation, which is also part of the problem. And again, I'm not saying that you can't watch ecchi series. I'm not saying you can't watch dark comedies, but let's face facts. As a society, we know how sexual assault, sexual harassment for kids, for girls, gets depicted in media affects the real world. You are stupid to think otherwise. Truly, you are stupid to think otherwise. You are ignoring the ramifications of stuff like this that happens to audiences as they consume. Anytime you think that any type of media isn't influencing someone in any way, shape, or form, if you think that it's not. All media affects everyone. And it all goes with how you interact with it and how you interact with the world after you consume media and interact with society. It is what it is. And this, it's like, it's so hard because I'm watching this, I'm like, it looks so cool. I really do like Momo's character. I love the art, the music that's coming out of it. The concept I think is really interesting. Two individuals who circle around each other can find friendship and understanding in each other in ways that they couldn't find in other people in their lives. And I really do like that. And I love how it looks. And I think everyone who's voice acting does an amazing job. I just need to know why she's always getting sexually assaulted. What is the point? Again, you can depict it. What is the payoff? As of right now, there is no payoff, at least for your main character. So it's very hard to contend with, like, watching this show. And it's also like the other aspects of the show, I can honestly say, I don't find 100% that interesting. Um, I'm more interested to see, like, the certain aspects of it. I'm like, cool. How can we tell a story about ghosts and aliens and these two people who have these interests? Because I love that shit, right? I love aliens. I love ghosts. I'm a big Star Trek nerd. I love X-Files. I love this stuff. Um, so I'm interested in that storytelling aspect. But if this girl's gonna get constantly sexually assaulted, this show's not worth my time. Because for me, that trumps every other part of the story that's happening, because it feels like a gag. And again, sexual assault is not a gag. It's not something to joke about. It is a serious issue. It is a very serious topic. It's truly
I just let me just tack onto that, right? Because there's a lot of different serious topics, right? And when you have a dark comedy, right? Because that, like, I want to make the distinction of this. We have a dark comedy, and dark comedies make light of, say, sexual assault or murder or any of these other things, right? That's what they make light of, which is why I went through that whole explanation of there's
uh,
dark black comedy and dark blue comedy. That's why I'm like,
but
yes,
it's
these
definitely
things
one
can
of
be
those.
made fun of, and these can be made.
I mean,
This is that's the medium. That's the genre of the blue comedy. But I'm saying
sure,
Don is not tagged as that, right?
right.
And so that's why I said that's why I want to make a clear distinction
But I need to
in
know,
addressing
yeah,
that.
but I need to know honestly, if you think sexual assault is something to be made light of, why is that? Why is it something to not take serious when someone is sexually assaulted, harassed?
I'm not saying
No,
that.
no, no,
Yeah,
no, no,
yeah,
not you, not you. I just mean like in a general sense. Sorry, I didn't
yeah,
mean to project that. I thought
yeah,
English, Kayla, to act like I'm asking you personally the question. I mean like the
yeah,
general audience. What is it in that subject matter? Do you think at any point it's funny
yeah.
that someone is being forced to do something they don't want to do, or is uncomfortable with, or is a violation, right?
Hmm.
Um, because, like, yeah, I don't. It's very much just like you. There is no joke about it that can be made,
Hmm.
unless it is a coping mechanism for a character who is a victim. But then that is a conversation worth having about the psychology of sexual assault and victims of sexual assault and sexual
Hmm.
violence. But then that builds the story and it grows because now we're tacking onto other subject matters of it, right?
Yeah.
Not just ha ha, you're gay because that man touched you. Ha ha, you're a girl, that's what you should be expecting for a guy to lift up your skirt. Haha, panty shots are funny. Haha, that old man is suggestively is pinning you down and drowning you in water. Haha, he's pulling you back in your little towel so that him and his family can rape you.
Hmm.
Like, what in that is the gag?
Yeah.
Like, because of that, we it again contributes to rape and sexual assault culture and the dismissive nature of victims. Because haha, that anime was made it a joke. Haha, that dark comedy said that guy who didn't want that woman to touch him, or that girl who didn't want that whatever to touch them. Haha, it's funny. So it must be funny when I do it to the person who's telling me no.
Mhm.
Right? It's a joke. I didn't mean it. Don't take it so seriously. Gosh, it's a joke, right? It's a joke. It's not a joke. It's not
So
a joke.
let me get clarification, right? Because you might be misconstruing the blue comedy slash dark comedy. So when these jokes, right? So they bring up tough topics and then they you know what I'm saying. What I'm about to say, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I no,
yeah, yeah. I'm
I'm
just
not
saying, yeah,
misconstruing the difference
yeah,
between genres of comedy. I'm saying it's
yeah,
2025. We need to stop thinking that this is
yeah.
something to joke about.
No, and that's what I'm saying. Like, because remember, all right. So taking it off screen. Remember when we were building a series and we want to have dark comedy because as one of the genres of it. And if we're in dark comedy, if we're talking about something with organ transplant, well, we know organ transplant is a very serious topic, but we're making light of it. We just watched Squid Game. We know that that is the a dark comedy aspect of it, right? And I'm like, these topics itself are just
Right.
as
No,
serious
no.
as
No, and
sexual assault, and
again,
that's why I'm
and I
gonna
and I get
clarify
that,
that.
but
Yeah,
no, yeah,
yeah,
I get that. But I don't need the clarification because like I said, I understand
mhm,
construction of writing in that sense for these topics, but
yeah,
if there is no push
yeah,
for it
yeah,
on a discussion of it, then it really is you're making a gag of it
hmm,
for joke purposes, not actually talking and facing
yeah.
this topic.
And that's what
Which
that's what I'm saying. When they get that tag, the payoff is usually that there's a point to them having that tag. Like they don't
right.
there will be no blue comedy or dark comedy or black comedy tag if there isn't a larger discussion for the payoff.
I mean
That
not
yeah.
I mean I've watched a lot of things and there's not. I think it has definitely gone out of favor in the last 15 years. But the amount of gay panic, assault of young girls, assault of boys in
But
movies and
do
comedies and
do they
shows.
specifically have those tags because they'd only get those tags by the writing union if that is what
I
is
mean
going to be the
that would mean
payoff
I'd
for
have to
them.
take
Yeah.
the time right now and just go through things
Yeah.
like the wedding crashers and American Pie and bullshit like that. Like
Because those aren't tagged as dark comedies or blue comedies. Those are just tagged as, like gag
yes,
comedies and sexual
but
comedies,
again
which is
but
different
again
from
those
that tag. Yeah.
exactly, but that style of writing
Mhm.
contributes to rape culture and sexual assault culture. If there is no actual conversation after the joke, you're just contributing to the depiction
Mhm.
to not for happy to have people not take this topic seriously.
Mhm.
That's where I'm afraid this is falling into.
Yeah, and that's yeah, so pretty much the point you just said was what I was trying to get you to originally because Donna Don, right? What I'm saying is what is going to be the payoff because Donna Don
Yes.
does not have because what I was trying to establish when I mentioned blue comedy and black comedy is that Donna Don does not have that tag at all,
Yeah.
right? So when we're presenting all these things with going on with Momo and Okaroon, right? That there right now there is no payoff for any of their stuff that with any of the sexual violence that's going on for them, right? So this is tagged as a romantic comedy, and
Mhm.
I don't like the romance, right? That's I've been consistent with that. And like I mentioned before, this is not an etchy either, right? So
Yeah.
this is and even in etchy, there is like different depictions of of awkward situations when you get into like your romantic couples, whoever they may be, right? This has none of that, right?
Yeah.
But then we also tack on that they have stories where they don't make light of sexual assault, like the Turbo Granny, or even things that go
Mhm.
on with Ira. So, which is
Mhm.
why my initial confusion is like, what type of story are we trying to tell with Donadon? Because if
Yeah,
we're
and I
gonna,
agree
yeah,
with
yeah,
you. Yeah,
yeah,
no, my whole thing is I
yeah,
completely you were crystal clear on your
yeah,
explanation. I'm crystal clear in my understanding of your explanation of the
yeah,
differentiations of comedy and how this is tagged as.
yeah,
I'm taking it from the perspective of okay, well, like you.
Yeah.
Aside from me not liking the romance, I can actually get past that. I can get
Yeah.
past the romance part, right? Because as we've talked about, I have watched teen romance, I've watched dark comedies, teen sex comedies and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Heartbreak High, Riverdale, Sex Education, you know, actually Betty, they're all in like their 20s. But like I've watched shows like that. But
Yeah.
then when they have depictions of sexual assault or sexual violence, those shows go on to discuss it. It's not
Mhm.
a gag. This
Yeah.
show, what I'm saying is, if we're not actually talking about the situations that are happening to Momo and we're just pushing that aside so that she could get about her day and eventually be boyfriend and girlfriend with Okarun,
Mhm.
why does she need to keep being sexually assaulted?
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like with the series itself, that's what I'm waiting to see after season 2. That was like initially my main point. Is it's only when we went out of them that's why I wanted to give clarification,
Mm,
because like right now, as where Don is, like the yokai stories is the only thing I have to look forward to after what season 1 was giving. The yokai story, we actually get storytelling. That's why I'm mentioning Evil Eye is storytelling, but this is Gigi's. It's gonna be Gigi's story. With Momo, I don't know how much of a backseat she's going to take for this, or how much of the driver's seat she's going to be driving. But at a certain point, especially for you, you're like, all right, how many times can this keep happening to Momo? And she just like brush it off as, all right, just another day, right? Even if that happens in the real world, right? And of course, I'm one that separates fantasy from fiction, right? Like in applying, like I don't place as much of an onus on people who watch things and then doesn't relate that to the real world, because you mentioned that earlier, right? I'm not one of those people that relate every single thing that I consume and watch and that becomes or affects me in the real world, right? In the context of this, content creator wise, and then us judging it, I'm like, all right, well, Momo keeps going through this, right? And we go through it like every 3 episodes or so. It comes to a point where Momo's gotta get fed up. Oh, I'm tired of this happening to me, right? I need to do something about this. So, is it going to be a power up? Is it going to be a character development arc? Is it going to be a breakthrough? Like, when is that going to happen? How long is the author going to continue to write these stories for Momo, right? Because there was a thread about this a few years ago. Like, people say, I would like Don if it was less rapey, right?
mm, mm,
And from that thread, I haven't, checked it out further since then, but it's like, well, every step we take, it's on the dangers are only going to get worse, right?
mm-hmm,
And we now know these aliens are just out here trying to reproduce. So it's not like it's not going to not happen to Momo or
mm-hmm.
Okarun. Like they want his balls. That was the gag. It's like when you talk about comedy gag, that's the gag. This is a story about a man and a girl trying to find his balls. Like legitimately, it's a girl's journey to figure out who she is, and a man's journey to get some balls, like his balls back, right? Because his balls are taken, right? So that much was weird. That much was funny. Like that slapstick comedy stuff that I can enjoy. Then we start to layer things on top of it, and I'm just like, all right, I don't know if the payoff is worth waiting for. That is where the crux of where I'm looking at right now, because it's like,
Mm,
especially because I'm not interested in their relationship, because they're literally being thrown together, and I hate romance series that just do that.
mm-hmm,
It's like we would have drive the car crash immediately and then let them figure it out along the way. That's the type of romance I hate the most.
mm.
In terms of like a
Same.
romance comedy, right? Because it just takes so long. I rather the slow burn. Hey, you know what? If we gotta wait 28 episodes for them to fucking hold hands, so be it. I'll take that,
Mm-hmm,
as opposed to, all right, here we're two people together, especially now that we're in a school situation. That's another thing, it's a school situation, but and develop from there. But Momo right now, her character isn't developing as fast as it should be. Then again, yeah, it is only 13 episodes total when you count season 1 in this episode. So that's why I'm like, I'll give it to the end of this season. I know there's more characters that keep on coming, but they gotta give something, bro. Like with Momo's character, because Okuru right now, it's not that I don't care about his character. It's just that he is his balls are literally driving the series. So they're only doing all of this stuff because of a situation he got himself into with Momo. But Momo essentially is your main protagonist. Okurun is your secondary protagonist. It's not the relationship between them as protagonists is lopsided. So
Mhm.
it's literally just Momo's story, and and Okurun's is now just falling, like he's just there. If his balls
Mhm.
wasn't involved in the story, we have no story essentially,
Mhm.
right? But it's like his character development, he just needs a real friend, and Momo out here is just, well, technically she boy crazy, but at the same time, her journey of what's the term called, her hero's journey, like hasn't
Mhm.
hasn't even really begun.
Mhm.
And this is a story that wants to have a hero's journey, but we haven't even turned the page to where she feels like that compelling point to do something for herself, because she's tied to Okarun right now.
Mhm.
And that's why I'm like, the story right now is not interesting because she can't be her own person, or truly
Mhm.
she has to try
Same.
to find her
Agreed.
she has to try to find herself within the confines of Okarun's issues and problems at the moment. And so that's like detracting from whatever type of growth she can have. So right now, Gigi is the problem, or he's about to have a problem. And I
Right.
know evil, because the evil eye arc is going to eat up at least the next 2 to 3 arcs from what people have said. Where does that leave Momo and her growth? And that is like, do I want to stick around to figure out what's gonna happen? Like, is it worth this investment? And Donadon like keeps dandling things, all puns intended, in front of you, where it's like, all right, we can give you really good storytelling for
Mhm.
these few episodes, and then we're gonna give you some of this wacky shit. So it's like, damn, in order for me to enjoy 4 episodes, I gotta sit through 8. The fuck?
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Yeah, I think honestly that's very much where my head and my agitation is at.
yeah,
That I have to sit through all I can see the possibilities of an
yeah,
actual solid story and plot and character development and growth,
yeah,
but you keep sliding back because of
yeah,
what you're depicting for these characters. And I agree with you.
yeah,
Momo and Okarun are supposed to be your main characters. They're who you have on the poster.
yeah.
But it just seems like for every 15 minutes of growth Momo gets, Okarun gets 45,
Mm-hmm.
right? And now we've introduced two more characters. We've got Gigi, who we're just getting to know,
Mm-hmm.
and we have um the other girl,
Ira,
right?
yeah,
And we still also have Turbo Granny, who's also along of the adventure to grow and change. So we have several characters getting introduced
yeah,
for your around your main female and male protag, only for your main female protag to kind of just go, like I said, 15 minutes of growth for
yeah.
everyone else's
Like
20 to
20, yeah.
45,
She's your Deus
right?
Ex Machina at the moment. She fixes
Yeah,
everything. Like,
right.
yeah,
And that's like, I don't know if you're gonna advertise that your show is about a boy and a girl, at least again make it even. Again, I really am also talking about
mhm,
how time is given to both your characters, right? I think we got a little bit, like I said, we got a little bit of understanding of Momo, where she's coming from, her relationship with her grandmother. But it seems like every time we get a little bit, it is then washed away because if that's not happening, if that's not happening, or if she's not, like you said, circling around her feelings for Okarun, her story isn't revolved around Okarun, then she's getting sexually assaulted. So there is no Momo time to just be Momo. And if we do get that time for Momo just to be Momo, then it's then squashed by I think I like Okarun. How are you guys feeling about Okarun? Oh my god, the situation with Okarun. Oh my god, Okarun likes someone else? This can't be.
mhm.
Oh my god, this bitch
I have
is
to think
making my
about
life hell.
Okarun. Yeah,
I it's but just oh Right.
Her grandma's life is now revolving around Okarun too. So it's like everyone is revolving. So I'm like, he is the centerpiece of the series. Without Okarun and his missing balls, we have no Dandadan, essentially.
Right. And now, since it seems like Evil Eye is connected to Gigi and whatever
Mm-hmm.
abilities Gigi has, because this is also Gigi's home and Gigi's hometown,
Yeah.
we are now going to start focusing on Gigi, which
Yeah.
again is fine because we've introduced to him as a character, but
Yeah.
he is now the fifth main character of the show, because I in my head it goes Okarun, Momo,
Yeah.
her grandmother, Ira, no, Turbo Granny,
Turbo Granny.
Ira,
Yeah.
and now Gigi.
Yeah.
So 6.
Yeah.
And now Evil Eye will be 7, but if Evil
He's
Eye is
a
the big
villain.
bad for the next couple arcs, then that means he's kind of overshadowing, and now the story is centered around him and how everyone acts around him, but
Yeah.
how he really interacts with Gigi, and now how everyone has to figure out how to help Gigi. But then Okarun still needs to figure out how to get his magical balls back
Yeah.
and being possessed, and but then are we just gonna relegate Momo to being sexually assaulted and, like you said, the Deus Ex Machina that thinks straight and then saves everyone at the end? Because it's also a lot of what we appreciated from the first
Mhm.
season. How smart she is and how quick she is on her
That's the
feet to
one thing
think
Donna
about.
does really, really well. Like in all the wackiness, they still have strategic like that as a
Yeah.
shonen. This is perfect. Like it's literally so because people are gonna like come into this. Obviously, people are gonna hate some of the opinions we have. And if this situation is something that gets resolved in future chapters and whatnot, yo, you know what? Tell us. Don't tell us what happens in the
Yes.
chapters, but tell us,
Just
you
be
know,
like,
yeah,
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 it starts to really dwindle down, and
yeah,
there is a plot or story, and there's growth for our
yeah.
main female character,
Because
and things change for her. That'd be great, truly, because again, the show does have so much going for it, but it's so marred and muddied by how the treatment of its main female character. To it really is just like, if you're gonna have this happen, is there a payoff?
yeah,
Am I like you? Am I gonna have to sit through 12 episodes to only like 3,
yeah,
and
and
then
that's not
to have
enjoyable.
and
Yeah,
then and that's completely
yeah,
and then honestly, then to have people come and tell me when I'm just like, hey, bringing up, hey, this is why, to be like, oh, you're crazy, that's invalid, and it's just like, no,
yeah.
I'm not. um sure.
Yeah, like
Okay.
I can deal with a
um
ratio if it's 12 episodes in a season, and if you can get a 6 out of 6, I can deal with
yeah,
fifty
that's
percent,
usually, yeah,
right?
usually I'm about fine with
Yeah,
a half.
and I can even say that I'm cool with a 5 to 7, where damn 5 episodes are really strong and 7 were just not it, right? I can stomach that, but when we get lower than that, and it's just like, all right, like what are we like? But then it's like, all right, but then that's story wise, right? You will
Mm,
never hear me say Don Don ain't perfectly animated. Like this shit is like
right,
it's goaded.
truly.
You will never hear me say the opening themes and the OST. I only like for this anime, it is literally perfect on all these other cylinders. I care about the story, right? And that's what it comes down to. Like, and the story will is where I'm just gonna like recommend people like, hey, you know what, this would be
Hmm.
crazy, like fun to watch. But then if how many butts do I have to, say, hey, I think it was like Donadon, but
But
and then how many butts are going to be added after that, right? And the caveats, and it's like, how many of those, right? And that's why I'm like, there's a lot of that right now where I'm like, yeah, Donadon, you want a series that has very great animation, great character work in terms of like the voice actors, people are really into the roles, like I can say Donadon, but yada 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 yada, right? And I would like to remove as many butts from our series. Like it's like me
right.
recommending Free Rent. I was like, you're gonna like, I think you will love Free Rent, but it's pretty slow pace. So if you don't like slow burn, then Free Rent is not the anime for you. So because I know some
Mm.
people out there, people like, hey man, Donadon's a slow burn anime. Listen, I watch fucking One Piece. One Piece is fucking slow. Yo, we got thousands of episodes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love slow
Again,
burn,
it's
but it gotta make
only
sense.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's only 13 episodes.
yeah,
I don't care if something is slow motion.
yeah,
I don't care. I love character.
yeah,
Take time, right? But we also have to rectify with the fact that it's 12
yeah,
episodes at about 19 minutes an episode. You're now introducing several other characters into these stories,
yeah.
and then it's starting to feel like your main female character is only a one note
Yeah.
character. That's a problem.
Yeah.
It's no longer a slow burn because then it's not really a slow burn if you're activating, like you said, the car, you have the car crash happen,
Mhm.
and now with the romance, and now you just have to deal with it. It's like they're already pushed together. They
Yeah.
didn't even grow a friendship. They're already crushing on each other, and again, Momo, even though, like, I guess you could even say Okarun, sadly, his life revolves around Momo now because,
Mhm.
like, he
Oh,
can't
yeah, he
find a
got no choice.
power up, and
He
like,
got no choice. He can't go home. So
right,
yeah.
true. But it really is just like, if you're allowing space for your other characters to have other aspects explored in their personalities. Like, Okarun gets to have a self-discovery journey, a romantic arc with Momo, a friendship arc with Gigi, even a friendship arc with Granny. Having an adult also kind of look out for him with
Mhm.
uh Momo's grandma. He's getting all these different character interactions, whereas it seems like Momo is either sexually assaulted or has to be in the middle of Okarun's feelings because now he's jealous that she might like Gigi,
Mhm. Yeah.
and or just her feelings for
Yeah.
Okarun.
Yeah. Oh,
And then
you could throw in the little developments of her psychic abilities, but we
right,
haven't really gone into much
which
detail on
right,
that yet because she's just
exactly, but she's also a Deus Ex
yeah.
Machina, so we
Yeah,
gotta have
like
that
yeah,
happen at some point.
like literally, she would be like, "Oh wait, you know what? I am powerful. I can do this. All right, no
Yeah,
real explanation needed. You're just Momo, and Momo, you can do
yeah.
that. Okay, yeah,
And like, maybe this is a show that is better binged than instead weekly to get a very concrete contextual feeling of what the story is.
Mhm.
Because again, even this episode felt like it ended. It started and then ended
Yeah.
like abruptly. Like it like when it
I
ended, I
think
was
I
just like, "Oh,
agree.
the episode's done."
I think it's better
Like,
binge than it is
yeah.
because you binge. To be honest, there's not much like you don't get time to sit and truly
Mm,
dissect when you're binging and whatnot. Or let's say you're binging and then talking after every episode, but it's like more so you're binging and you're retaining so much information that by the end of it, similar to a Squid Game, right? By the end of it,
mhm.
you're just looking at the more glaring issues, and I think that's where Donald. I mean, obviously, having these discussions every week, which is something we could choose to do, or just waiting to the end of the season, which is another option I think we might favor more so to see exactly
Mm,
how it pays off. And to see was it better to just binge Don to Don than to do the week to week, because we did do the week to week for season one. Maybe we do the
mhm.
binge and we'll see how people like what the response is, and it like for people after they see this video too. Because I mean, like, at the end of the day, Evil Eye, a lot of people are hyped for it, but I also look at these people and I ask them, okay, well, you guys are the romance comedy high school specialists. Is this worth investing in week to week? And if people are telling me no, that's because one, I don't like high school romance comedies, but two,
Mm.
they're like, yeah, Don and Don's gonna have episodes where it's gonna be really good action and really good storytelling. And I said, I don't even care about the action. How's the storytelling? So
Yeah.
that's where,
Because I even
yeah,
like, we've watched shows together where it's just like we'll have action, 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 and then a break, which
yeah,
is
and
narratively how you should tell a
yeah,
lot of these stories. And I personally, I enjoy that. Like, if you're gonna be very forward with the emotional drive, with the action drive, with just so much is happening all at once, it needs to take 3 episodes.
yeah,
But then, like what people would call a beach episode, where you just take an episode in between all the action to just kind of settle, take a breather, and like absorb what
mhm,
just happened in the previous episodes. I like shows like that.
yeah,
This kind of feels like that it's not really cut that way. It's like something happens, but then it's either we're really slow in the middle and then we speed up at the end to then cut it off to then I don't really know the
the
tempo
pacing,
of this
yeah,
show. The tempo and the pacing of this show quite yet. Um just because the first season ended so abruptly, just because the way this first episode ended abruptly. I think like if they allowed the show to have one season where it's 24 episodes,
Mhm.
maybe it would feel a little bit more cohesive. And again, this is only season 2, episode 1, but again, it's 19 minutes per episode, give or take. For 12 episodes, you're introducing a lot of characters. How are we structuring the pacing of this show?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, again, I'm hoping, because there are so many other things I like about this show, but my biggest issue is the treatment of Momo and the treatment of sexual assault as a
Mhm.
topic in this show. Are the next 3 episodes gonna grow beyond that? Is this something that I had to sadly sit through 13 episodes just to get something good? Or are we gonna get to the point of, well, yeah, she doesn't get sexual assaulted in episode 2, season 2, but it will happen in 3. Sort of happen in 4. Won't happen in 5. So like you said, every 3 episodes it's happening. I don't need to
Yeah.
watch this show. And that's
And
fine.
that's
We
yeah.
we don't need to like everything you guys like. You guys don't need to like everything we like. I'm also just, because content making is what we do,
Mhm.
when we take on popular shows like this, I also try to come at it as an understanding of why is it so popular?
Yeah.
What are the conversations we're having around this show?
People
What
will
is
talk
drawing
about
the
it.
fan
It's
base?
the animation, because I'll tell you this, right, and I guess will this be the last point.
Yeah.
The when people talk about Donadon, right, I rarely hear people talk about the story.
Mm,
If it's not just the controversy of what's going on with Momo
mm,
on Twitter, and if you really use Twitter, it's a blimp compared to how people actually feel, right? What gets talked about is literally the animation,
mm-hmm,
the music,
mm-hmm,
and how cool the characters are. Like, because Momo's like
mm-hmm,
a girl boss, and
mm-hmm,
Okarun looks really fucking cool when he transforms to
mm-hmm.
his to his form with Turbo Granny. Rarely are people having actual full on discussions about, all right, so what about the story? Yeah, it's kind of wacky. It's either take it or leave it type of deal.
Mm,
And we are story driven people. Like, even in a
yeah.
series like Soul Leveling, which, like Soul Leveling, I could love for the action and whatnot, and I can like the story up to a point. It's about a dude who just basically just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. But at a certain point in the story, there's only so much strength you could get before you
Right, which
become,
is right, which is why I
ridiculous.
was
Yeah,
asking all those
yeah,
questions through both seasons. Why I was asking so many
yeah,
questions, and again, how we interact with media is obviously different from each other
yeah.
and different from you guys, and that's okay too. I, for me personally, I come at these
Mhm.
conversations and doing this content because I want more people to actually consider what they're watching and take a deeper look at what you're
Mhm.
consuming, right? And again, as I say in a bunch of our other videos, not everything needs to be like a Rembrandt. Not everything needs to be Michelangelo. Not everything needs
Yeah,
to be
yeah,
fucking
nothing.
Shakespeare. And
Yeah,
even in half that time, Shakespeare and all of them, it's a 50-50, right?
yeah.
The art is, and beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and what connects with us is all different. But I feel like we've gotten to a point where the way media is pushed out to audiences, how company structure, how writing is structured, how we're all engaging in conversation on and offline,
Mhm.
um, really is indicative to the times that we live in.
Yeah.
And I do personally feel how we interact with media is an indicator of how we interact with each other and the stories we tell with each other and how we approach community and society, how we approach a globalization idea. And I do this because I'm hoping to reach people to kind of just start thinking in that way. It's not a bad way to think. It's just a way that, hey, we're only on this earth for a short amount of time. How do you want to spend your time, your money, your viewing hours, and what do you want to leave in the world after that? How do you want to? I mean, I'm not telling you to go out and do every fucking thing under the sun, but if you're gonna talk to people and interact with people, and I've had my fair share of people who interact with the sort of media and then come towards me and then treat me like shit. I'm taking it as from, well, I'm interacting with this media and I don't want people to treat you like shit. So maybe we should talk about it and discuss why they're treating us that way when they're involved and consuming this type of stuff, right? Or any type video game, whatever, doesn't matter, right? So I come in as like I take these topics seriously because I know how media affects the real world, right? I do fully believe in optics. I do believe in influence. Um and I truly seen the effects of how optics and influence dictate how we interact with each other. Um and just where we're at as a society and how we don't take things seriously when things should be taken seriously because it affects all of us. So when I really drive home how I feel about Momo and this sexual assault angle with her is because, as I mentioned before, rape culture is a thing. We're seeing the effects of it daily. We see how people interact with you, how casually rape and assault is thrown around in conversation, especially against women and queer people. Um, and it's like if something as popular as Don 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 is just throwing this out as a gag, how does that affect the populace? And it
Yeah,
does.
especially when people are saying that Don saved the anime community, which is a lie. Yeah. So, save Japan. My bad, not the anime community. Save Japan. Even
Oh, and
worse.
also how people interact too with racial optics,
Yeah.
which we sort of touched
Yeah.
on that last
Yeah.
season. But
Like,
it's
yeah,
still a very important thing that happens because of this anime started a big conversation last year that is still we're feeling the effects now.
yeah.
Um, so that's why I go so hard about this stuff. And
Yeah.
again, you don't have to agree with me and you don't have to like it, but that's not going to stop me from doing it.
That's not. No.
The only thing that's gonna stop me from doing it is if I stop watching the show. And right now, it's got enough that I like that I want to keep watching in hopes that it gets better. And if it doesn't, in my opinion, if it just feels like it's a chore
Mm-hmm.
and it's a pain to watch, I will stop watching it because I value my time, I
Yeah.
value my viewing hours, and I value how I interact with people.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's why I'm hopeful for the Evil Eye arc. Um, Mainly because it's supposed to be a long arc and it's supposed to be dealing with a lot with this character. So that's what other people have told me, and so I'm gonna see exactly what they say, and I'm gonna watch it, and I'm gonna be like, okay. I hoped at the end of the arc I won't be like, well, that was a thing,
Right,
Yeah, I
which
hope.
we had a
Yeah,
few of those. Well, okay, that's
yeah,
over.
yeah. Now that's over. Like I hope I won't be treating this
Right.
like Uzumaki, bro. Like where I couldn't wait to be done with that series, bro. So I don't think Don is that
Some good
because
highlights.
and once
I
again,
had this
I
highlighted.
need to say this for those of you that made it to the end of the episode, because you'd be like, yeah, you're just a Don hater and whatnot. I need to play my ringtone real quick from my phone and let you know what my alarm is, because my alarm goes a little something like this. Now, that is the Don opening theme. This shit is literally almost #1 on my like iTunes played from last year. So yeah, the song fucking slaps. Like once again, like I said, Don, I love the music. But folks, we'll end off there. We'll be back for another Don the app session in the near future. So definitely stay tuned. And yeah, let us know your thoughts in the comments section. I can't speak English right now. Let us know
Yeah,
your
that's fine.
thoughts in the comment section down below, as real YouTubers like, subscribe, share, and or dislike, whatever. And we'll catch you guys next time. You already know. Doses.